With the sound of the church bells, Patty Roggoveen, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, there she goes. Go sit down. Good girl, go sit down. Go on. Good girl, go sit down.
Oh yeah.
Go on. You remember her, right? You've done this enough times to know. Huh?
I've been here, definitely. I'm just surprised the van's still running.
So am I. Believe me, I had to get Neville to jump it.
Did you really?
Yeah. What's going on?
I was trying to explain to my daughters this morning what it was. It's not a minivan. They call it a bus, but it's not really
It used to be a bus.
His left light is out.
Everything's out on this. This thing is almost out of commission.
Let me know. It'd be a chimney sweep.
All right, so I'll sell it to you. How you doing, Patty?
I'm good, Gino. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Here you go again.
Yep. Well,
Third time,
but in 1 year, so that's pretty.
Oh, that's true.
That's true. It's not like 3 years in a row. It's 3 times in a year.
Oh my gosh.
Less than a year, because last year's election was April 11th. So.
Wow.
Yeah, it is.
Wow.
David and I hold that distinction for
That's
sure.
true. Exactly. So, well, you know how it's working. I've asked all the candidates to pose questions that the other candidates would have to answer. Right. Each one has one question. They're all good. But let me first start by asking you, why are you running again?
You know, I know that what my reasons have been in the past remain, and that is that I believe that there needs to be a voice on that board, a voice of working people, a voice for working families, that we are in danger on this island of losing our middle class. That's a huge concern of mine. I am heartened by the fact that we began, at some level, there was a number of people that began making this an issue about a year ago when I did start to run, and now it's out there and it's been addressed in many respects, and at least we've done a human conditions survey. There's been some information kind of coming back that this is not just us knowing that our neighbors have moved. This is like a real happening here on Nantucket, so I think that's great. I really do. And I do think it still needs to be addressed, and that's why I'm here.
All right. Okay, we'll get into the questions. Alan Reinhardt's first question. What is your vision of Nantucket 20 years from now? What kind of place will it be? And would you and or your children be able to live here?
I think I'll start with the last part first, and I want to say yes. I mean, obviously that's where I'm coming from in terms of making this, and then back up from there, because if I'm able to live here and my children are able to live here, what that means is that we've addressed some of the concerns that are particularly special to me, and that is that we've balanced an island, we've balanced the ability to live and to work here with the aesthetic wonder of the place, whether it be for open space or historic preservation, but that we've talked about setting priorities, and we've talked about planning in such a way that we've made sense out of the competing priorities, and that means that I'll be here as a person. You know, I'm going to be 48 next month, and I know you will too.
Yep. Hey, I won't be telling people that.
Gino and I actually are born the same year, 2 days apart.
That's right. That is right.
You know, in 20 years from now, I'll be 70, and that means that what I'm concerned about today in terms of healthcare, professionals on the island, whether they be for long-term care, special needs, those are all very important to me. This is a place I'm looking at not too far down the road, and that's a key priority for me, and something I've actually worked on aggressively. For my children, it obviously means being able to remain here, to be here with me, to be here with this community, to have a place to call home, and that's very, very important.
Okay, here's David Gray's question. If elected, would you be willing to spend a day as a shadow in each of our town departments? And he doesn't mean just in the office. He means, you know, hanging out with the fire chief, the harbor master, DPW, police, health officer.
I have to say, all but one. There's no way I'm spending the day with Dirk.
At
the Conservation Commission. Just kidding. That's enough time, exactly. We actually do. We went down last weekend to watch to the Sconset Bluff to see what had happened with the with the storm that came in, and to kind of look at. So I do spend enough time, I guess, looking at some of those issues and spending some time with that staff. Yes, absolutely. I think it would be a wonderful experience, and I think David's question is a great one. I don't think as a Board of Selectmen member you should be there to micromanage, but certainly getting a taste for what they do during the day, for what kinds of issues that they confront and the balances that they need to draw, and then the needs that they might have is a wonderful experience in terms of just enlightening the Board of Selectmen as to what's actually going on in the town departments.
Okay. And
I think Libby's job might be a little bit busy too, huh?
She's got a tough job.
She's got a big one.
Here's your question. Do you support the creation of a sewer commission separate from the Board of Selectmen as proposed as a possible outcome of this year's town meeting, Article 53? Do you think town meeting should have final say over citizen requests over sewer?
I wrote this question particularly because of some events that happened last week. Sort of background: the sewer article and the sewer committee that was formed last summer. The committee itself did an awful lot of work. A lot of energy went into sort of preparing and looking at the whole question of Nantucket and the need for some planning with respect to our wastewater treatment and the like. That committee deserves an awful lot of applause, accolades, and the like. I am a bit disappointed that when the report did finally come forward, it wasn't given the scrutiny or the look, the priority, I guess, by the board. It kind of sat there for a few months, and I really do believe we should have looked at this much sooner. All of a sudden now we're right before town meeting. We've got an article that's very important. It's not only dealing with some of the nuances of the sewer commission, so to speak, but it's also the finances, which is key if we're going to do the upgrades. We really need to be there. But all of a sudden, there's been a lot of talk about who is to decide on the sewers and where is that decision going to be. And we just got this inkling that it's not necessarily going to be a town meeting, that this Article 53 has within it this kind of component that says we're going to give this to a sewer commission of what, 3 individuals? What 3 individuals would you like to choose on the island to make all the decisions with respect to acting as a gatekeeper as to what gets to town meeting? That's a fundamental shift in power. Frankly, it's actually more far-reaching than what the town study committee has proposed in terms of the nuances between our executive side and our legislative side. And like I said, we're in the shadow of town meeting, and here it is out there. I think the sewer commission needs to be looked at carefully. We need to make sure that we're not going to award to some select individuals who are not elected an awful lot of power. We need to be certain that their role is scrutinized, and I would not be in a position to say that they should be making decisions about the sewer hookup versus town meeting making those decisions. And none of us want 100 sewer articles at town meeting with individual plots asking for special privileges, but I think we can do something in between that's a lot more sensible than handing it off to 3 people.
Okay. Neville Richens' question. Okay, what is your position of the various unions representing the town of Nantucket employees?
Well,
being one, specifically pay schedules and cost of living increases.
Well, I'm not a union employee, so
okay.
I do know that this whole question of town employee has been out there. I have been on record as saying that town employees should be considered as candidates for the Board of Selectmen. I don't believe all town employees are created equally, and I think that needs to be addressed, to be stated here as well. There are a number of places where, whether we work in the evenings, in the mornings, in the nights, I do believe that role and their ability to run for Board of Selectmen needs to be respected, because otherwise we're disenfranchising a whole group of island residents. As far as union negotiations are concerned, I know Neville has an extensive background with the union from his own work as a town employee. That is a place where I do think that the unions and the administration, what they do with health benefits, for instance, applaudable. They came together and they made sense out of doing something better for both the town employees and also for the town of Nantucket in terms of what our costs are. And I will restate, Nantucket's a unique place. Our union employees are also our residents. they pay taxes here. They're not going home someplace else and taking Nantucket as an employee, a place where they're working and trying to get something different. So they're balancing as well, and that's why I think we can get to places like this new healthcare policy, not healthcare policy, the insurance policy, where it makes sense for both all of us as residents and for us as employees of the town.
Okay. Rick Atherton's question. Regarding the Sconset Beach project and the Town of Nantucket One Beach program, if elected to the Board of Selectmen, would you support requiring that the oceanfront property owners within Sconset Beach project area grant public easements to the new nourished beach before the town agrees to any work being performed on its property?
It's funny. The importance of access, public access to the beaches, to the harbors, I think that's a very valuable component of what makes Nantucket special. We don't have beaches that are chopped up and owned privately, and that's really, really important. I also believe, and I know this was an issue in last April, that we're getting to a place where we're getting far more respectful in terms of priorities of what we do on those beaches. It is not a free zone. Open parties and litter on the beach, all those things are not good for any of us in this community. And I do believe that while we look at access and we sort of value, and we do value that access, we also have to be rigorous in making sure that there's a respect given to the individuals that live around the beaches, that are essentially the neighbors to that beach and are not in a place where they're going to be all that. It's going to impact their lives and all of our lives if we allow that kind of access. But as far as public access is concerned, I think that's a wonderful thing. And I think that their position, I've been to a lot of hearings on Sconset Beach. I don't see any negative sense from the owners about that access, but I do see a caution in terms of we don't want, especially in Sconset, because it's so there's a drop there, and it's kind of a hidden little, it's a good place for a party if you're not careful, and I think we need to be aware of that,
I see. Yes, right. Yeah, right. Good point. Okay, well, it seems that the job has been requiring more time than in the past, or being a Board of Selectmen.
Right.
How much time are you going to be able to spend on doing this job?
I believe, again, I have the benefit of saying to you, I've been to all of the Board of Selectmen meetings, the Audit Committee meetings, not all of them, but a lot of them. I've been to meetings during the day, I've been to meetings, the FinCom meetings. I've actually walked through what it might feel like to be a member of the Board of Selectmen, and I've had no problem balancing the two. My particular employment is this community school, as you know, and it's open from 6 a.m. to 9 o'clock, almost 7 days a week. So my oversight of that particular operation can happen within those hours. I'm not opening the door. We're not a 9 to 5 office, so to speak. So I have some flexibility in terms of my daytime, and I do know that I enjoy this kind of thing. Anyone who knows me knows I like to stay busy, and I have I know what it looks like. Let's put it that way. I've been there. I've walked the walk, and I've had no problem over the last year keeping up with it. Year and a half, I guess. So I can bring all of that to the board once elected as well, because it's not going to be that kind of learning curve.
And then the experience that you bring to the job.
The experience, I think ultimately you can talk about budget management experience, working with staffs, all those kinds of technical things, which I believe I do have and do bring to the board. But ultimately, I think it's all about what's in your heart. And for me, it's about my kids, and it's about their future, and therefore there's no compromise. It's not an accolade I'm looking for to put on my resume, I'm looking for this because I truly and firmly believe that we can make this a better place, and I have some concerns as to where we're going. And so for that energy, it really is coming from my heart, and I think that's why I can balance it so well.
Anything else you'd like to add? Anything that I haven't covered? Anything you want to ask the voters? Say to the voters?
Well, I do want them to get to the polls. I think I have earned the right to say every vote counts, and I keep repeating that over and over again. For all of us as candidates, whether it be for Board of Selectmen or for any of the other offices, there's a lot of work involved. There's a lot of commitment involved, and I think that the voters, their way of saying thank you for all of that in a civic society like we live in is to go to the polls and to vote. And I do want to say that please do, because your voice matters to all of this. And all the way from tomorrow to 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, you need to you need to recognize that your voice is going to guide and shape where we go as an island. And it's one day. I know the parking is sometimes hard, but make sure we all get out there. And I think that was finally the best thing I can say.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Patty.
Thank you, Gino.
Good to see you.
You too. You too.
And,
all right.
What you got going for the rest of the day?
Well, I'm going to Godspell at 2 with the girls.
Okay.
We're going to go take some friends and see the High School Musical.
Yes.
And
that's fun.
Yeah, that is fun. So, and then James and Dirk were off on camping on the Battleship Cove this weekekend.
Oh.
So with the Cub Scouts.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So
God.
we got to pick them up at the boat at 5.
All right.
And somewhere in there, I got to figure out what's for dinner. But other
There you
all
go.
right.
Okay, Mom.
All right. Thanks.
Take her easy.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye, Patty.
All right. I
Yep.
never can.
Push on down and it'll pop.
All
Yep.
right,
You
thanks.
got it.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.